This conference will now be recorded.
So today we'll see about Oracle RAC. It is introduction as well as what is the architecture of RAC and what are all the files, where are the directories, how the directories are located, what is the structure of the directories, etc. Okay, so I'll share my screen. So I have created two nodes, node 1 and node 2. Okay, so I have used VirtualBox 5.2.18. Okay, and the Linux box is 7.3, OEL 7, OEL 7.0 I have used, and I have done my grid installation using Oracle 12c R2. Okay, so now we'll see RAC 1, then RAC 2. So these two nodes are there. Fine. So now we can use the grid in two forms. Okay, so
Ma'am, can we verify how much RAM is it's occupied and how much hard disk space it has taken?
yeah, like I have given 20 GB RAM because for 19.3 upgrade I want to do. That's why I have given much. So here you can see 20 GB RAM I have given for each node. So my machine is 64 GB RAM laptop. So this is 20 GB I have given so that I can upgrade later on, because 19.3 grid installation it requires minimum 8 GB, but 20 GB is good. So that's why I have given 20 GB for each node. As well as hard disk, I have assigned 400 GB. Okay, because since it is dynamically it is going to allocate. So I have allocated 400 GB, and actual size it has finished with, it has used is 36.68 GB.
Okay.
So here also for the node 2 it is 27.94 GB only. And I have added two more ASM disks, that is data 1 of 25 GB fixed size and FRA1 for of 25 GB fixed size I have added. So similarly node 2 also I have added data 1 and FRA1 of 25 GB each. That is I have shared, that is only two disks only I have added, and I have shared between those disks. Okay, so that is I have done, and shared folder 12c rack, that is a grid installation, and this is the Aura ASM library 7 kernel file we require, one RPM file, so that also I have shared. Okay, so now this is node 2, this is node 1. Now as a root user, we can start the cluster, start and shut the cluster. Start cluster means in this particular node only it will start the cluster. If you give as a root user, you can give CRSCTL stop cluster also. So, or you can give with all options, /all if we give. In all the nodes it will stop the cluster, start the cluster and stop the cluster, or /all. CRSCTL start cluster /all, or CRSCTL stop cluster /all. So like this also we can give. So root only has the privilege to start and stop the cluster. Whereas using Oracle user, you can check the cluster, CRSCTL check cluster you can give, or CRSCTL, check CRS also you can get. So CRS means again with cluster plus OHASD, okay, plus Oracle High Availability Service Domain. So that is meaning. So this is up. So Oracle user I can give. Then I have my bash profile I have configured like this. I'll show you. So VA, I'll clear the screen before. So VA dot bash underscore file. Okay. So in the bash profile, I have given temporary directory, then temp directory, Oracle hostname. What is the Oracle hostname? And grid home. Okay. So grid home of a location, that is U01 at 12.2.0.1/grid. This is the directory I have created. And DB home. So this is for Oracle database home. This is database home and this is grid home. And Oracle home is DB underscore home. So if you want in your DB environment, it will turn as DB home, and in grid environment, it will turn as grid home. Oracle term is extra, base path, library path, class path. Now, I have introduced two variables, environment variables called grid underscore env and db underscore env. Okay, so these two files I have created under home Oracle grid environment and home Oracle db environment. So now this is my bash profile. Okay, so now I have created two files called grid underscore environment and db underscore environment under the directory called /home/oracle. So I'll show you how grid underscore environment also. So Oracle home will be grid home. Okay, grid home already we have assigned in bash profile. So that is what is your Oracle home. That is U01 app 12.2.0.1/grid. That is your grid home. Okay, then there only it will install all the softwares. Okay, all the library files, executable files, everything. So now db underscore environment. So under db underscore environment, I have said that Oracle home is db home. That is U01 app Oracle product 12.1.0 or 2.0/db underscore 1. So that is my db home. So under that db home only all your executable files and library files will be configured. Okay. So now I have run the bash profile. Now grid underscore environment. So now if I run this grid underscore environment, my Oracle home will be like this. Okay. If I run db underscore environment, then my Oracle home will be changed to this one, like this. Okay. So this is how my bash profile and grid and Oracle home environment I have set. Okay. So if I run grid environment, then it will go to this home. If I run db environment, it will go to this home. So now I'll run the grid environment. Now I want to check my CRSCTL. There is the command to check that is as Oracle as well as root user. I can check as Oracle user as well as root user. You can check the status of the CRSCTL status resource -t. So using this command status resource -t, I can check what are all the services available. Okay, so now first I'll run the environment. As an Oracle user, I'm running the environment. So in the $.space ORAENV plus ASM1. Okay, so this is the instance, ASM instance, and I can go inside and I'll check the corresponding check CRS or CRS-CTL status resource -t. So like this I can check. So your environment is now ASM1. Okay, now I'm going to run the Aura environment, Aura env plus ASM1. Okay, CRS-CTL check CRS. So your Oracle High Availability Service is online, then CRS is online, CSS is online, and Event Manager is online. Okay. Now CRS-CTL check cluster. If I give cluster will exclude this OHASD. The other three services it will show you: CRS, CSS, and EVM. Okay. So check cluster -all. So under rack 1, CRS is online, CSS is online, Event Manager is online. Under rack 2, CRS is online, CSS is online, and Event Manager is online. So like this it will show us. Okay. CRS-CTL check cluster -all. So similarly, if you want to check CRS-CTL status, just I want to check the status of the resources. So CRS-CTL status resource -t. So it will show you all the services. Okay. So now if you give CRS-CTL status resource -t, it will show you what is the name of the resource and target, in which state it should be and which state currently it is now. This is the target state. Actually, either it should be online. So target state is online. Now what is the state and under which server it is, and state details, whether it is stable or unstable or observer mode. So like that. Okay. Now ASM net1 listener underscore ASM dot listener. So this is one local resource. Then data dot date dot disk group. So my ASM disk group, which I have given here now. Here I have given, isn't it, in the storage? I have given this data1 and FRA1 now. So these two as a disk group. These two are disks. So I have combined these two and configured as a single disk group called data. Okay. So that's why it is showing so data disk group. Both are online in both the nodes. Okay. Data disk group, which contains data1 disk and FRA1 disk, is online in both the nodes. Next one is listener. So listener is online. Then CHAD one service is there. Then network. So network is what? For our network IP. Okay, net1.network. So how using the network we are able to actually enter into the, that is connect to the instance. Okay, how the applications are getting connected through this aura.net1.network only it's getting connected. Next one is aura.ons. ONS means Oracle Notification Service. Okay, Oracle Notification Service means that is one type of service between the nodes. It will be sending the notifications. Okay. Then proxy.advm. So these and all we are not using as of now. Okay, so that's why. Next one, listener scan1 dot listener. It is up on rack 2. Then scan2 dot listener. It is up on rack 1, and scan3 is up in rack 1. So these are the three types of, that is rack underscore rack hyphen scan we gave no. So that one it is showing. That is in your etc/host. If you see, you can check. /host. So here you can see rack-scan. Okay, 3 IPs we have given. So that is what here it is giving 3 scan listeners. Okay, listener scan 1, scan 2, and scan 3. Then management listener for the management database, that is. Next one, ASM. So how many disks I have given? 2 disks I have given under the disk group called data. So that's why it is showing online. So first disk and second disk. Okay. Next one, Aura.cvu, cluster verification utility. So this utility, while we are doing the installation as well as after that as well, it will check whether the cluster is running properly or not. Okay, CVU. Next one, Aura.management DB. Okay, so we have one management database. So we have one management database that is also open and stable. Okay, that is a grid infrastructure management repository database. It is. That is what it is showing. While we are installing itself, it will automatically create one database called management DB. Okay. Then quality of service management server. Then these are the VIPs. Okay, VIP IPs. So what these are? You check here. We have given VIP. See, for VIP, 2 IPs I have given 81 and 82. So that is what it is showing here. Okay, using that scan listener, 3 scan listeners, it is showing here. Okay, so those were the scan listeners, and here these are the scan VIPs. Okay, the rack scan VIPs are used here as the IP address and there as the listener. Okay, in the form of listener, it is using here scan 1, scan 2, scan 3 listener it is using. Okay, so see here you can see that listener scan 1, scan 2, scan 3. So as a scan listener we call, and here we call as scan VIPs. Okay, so using the IP address which we have given in the for the scan, this scans, it is utilizing those scan VIPs here. Okay, so we call this as scan VIPs, and when those VIPs are used for the listener, we call those listeners as scan listeners. That's it. Fine. So now this is how all the services are being done. Okay, all are being arranged, right? So now we'll see the architecture of our rack. See, we have our laptop. Okay, we are installing the virtual box inside. Okay, so inside that we are creating 2 nodes, that is node 1 and node 2. So that is what I have created, node 1 and node 2. Now, so under this each node we are creating 2 there is 2 boxes, that is 2 databases. Okay, under each node, this is my one disk. Okay, the other one is one more VDI, that is virtual disk image. This is also virtual disk image. Here using this, that is rack1.vdi and rack2.vdi. So here you can see. So this is node2.vdi and here node1.vdi. Here for the first node we have the name as node1.vdi. Okay, so like this only we have here. So instead of that, rack attention 1 and rack 2.vda. So instead of we have node 1 and node 2.vda. Okay, and we have our ASM 1 and 2. We also have 2 disks, that is data 1 and FRA 1. Okay, and we have our databases installed called RackDB. You can check here. RackDB is the database which I have installed for the both the rack. Okay, rack 1 and rack 2 are sharing the single database called RACDB. Okay, so that is what is here. Next one, I have one PDB as well. Okay, and in which node I have done my installation, I'm calling that as the DNS master. Okay, and the other one is DNS slave. Right. So now your applications are getting connected to your rack instances through the first public IP. Right. So this is your public IP. 51 and 52 might be your public IP, and here you have your VAP as well. Right. So the same thing I have introduced here. So see, this is the public IP, and this is the private IP, and this is the VIP, and this is the scan. Right. So first we'll see what these are useful for. First one is public IP. How the applications are getting connected to these are the applications, they are getting connected to your nodes through your public IP only. Okay. So through this, there is one minus 192, 168, 56, 71 I have given. So through the public IP, this is the public IP through which your applications get connected to your machines. That is the use of public IP here. Okay, that is the use of rack 1, rack 2. This is the public IP. Next one is private IP. So what is the use of this? Means, see, whenever the instances want to connect between them, okay, that you call it as inter-instance communication or private connect. Okay, so this should be very high speed rather than your public IP or whatever it is. This is expected to be of more speed, more faster than the public IPs. So these are the private IPs. Okay, so because you want to, without the user without the user recognizing or feeling that there is some slowdown in the response time also. So the user has to find out, okay, before the user finds out that there is some latency in the speed, here the speed should be more, so that it should give the, within the less response time, it should give the output or the result. Okay, so that is why you call this as the priv IP. Okay, priv IP is to connect between the instances. So how many instances are there? Also this VIP, this priv IP will be used. Okay, for example, 10 nodes are connected in your cluster, then this priv IP is being used among the instances. Fine. So that is the meaning. That's why we are using this priv IP here. Next one is VIP. So VIP, for each public IP, we are giving one more VIP here. Okay. So here we saw this is the VIP, 2 VIP address I have given. For this 71 and 72, I have given 81 and 82 as the VIP. So this is the real IP, whereas this one, what is the purpose of this VIP? Means, see, whenever your public IP gets crashed, okay, so for example, this 51 gets crashed, public IP is not able to access the application. Normally through public IP, it will get connected to this database, but this public IP gets crashed or some problem, due to some problem, it's not able to connect here. So what will happen is, through this VIP, it will get connected. These applications will get connected through this VIP to this database. Okay, because if this public IP is not getting connected, means what will happen? This one will fail over to the other VIP. Okay, this VIP will fail over to the other VIP, so that even this instance gets crashed also, the public IP is not able to access this particular instance also. This application can connect to through this VIP, it can connect to the other instance. Can you follow, Kamesh? See, you have the public IP here. So through the public IP only, all your applications are getting connected, right? So this is how it's getting connected. But when your instance gets crashed, okay, this public IP is not able to connect to this one, then this VIP will fail over to this one, so that this application can get connected to this instance. instead of this instance, because it's not able to connect, isn't it? Through the public IP, it's not able to connect the instance. That's why even if this instance gets crashed also, through the VIP, it's failing over to the other instance. The application can connect directly with the other instance. Okay, to the second instance, it can connect through the VIP. Can you follow, Kamesh?
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay, because this is somewhat difficult to understand this way. See, through the public IP, these applications are getting connected to the instance. If that instance gets crashed, through this public IP, it's not able to connect to here. So with this VIP, it has, each instance will have its own VIP, so that through this VIP, they'll be getting connected to the other instance, other it will fail over to the other instance. Fine, that is the meaning for this VIP, that is the use of this VIP.
So
So
the use of
yeah,
VIP is like during the instance crash down only, like
yeah.
it
See,
will
normally as a, yeah, not like during the instance crash, we will use that VIP, but normally we will give that assign one VIP. Normally we will assign one VIP, so that even when that service wants to get connected with the other instance, through that VIP, it can get connected to the other instance. Fine. So if the public IP is not able to connect to that particular instance, through the VIP, it can connect to the other instance. So whichever instance is available, it will get connected. So what we do is, normally in DNS names.ora, we used to give the connect string, isn't it? So there we used to give this particular VIPs. Can you follow?
yeah, ma'am. So you are showing the TNS file.
Yeah. Network/admin. So we have our DNS. See, here instead of host, normally we used to give all the 4 nodes we have, means rack1-VIP, rack2-VIP, like this we used to give in address. Okay. So instead of giving our host name, because we don't know which public IP may not be able to access a particular node, we don't know. So what we used to give is host is equal to those VIPs, 4 VIPs we used to give. Okay, till Oracle 11G R1 we used to give like this. 1 minute. So till Oracle 11G R1, we were giving like this only. Host is equal to rack1-VIP. Then again in the second line, address is equal to protocol is equal to TCP. Host is equal to rack2-VIP. Like that we used to give. How many nodes we have? The corresponding number of VIPs we used to give. Till Oracle 11G R1. Okay. Then from Oracle 11G R2, they have introduced this one, that is called scan. So scan IP address. Using that scan IP address, now what happens? We know that these VIPs are present in our connect string, and if the public address is not able to log in through the VIP, I'm able to access the other instance, and my applications are able to access the other instance. So this is what we have done till 11G R1. Now what happened? Instead of this application coming and checking, see, application normally what it will do, it will come and check the first one, that is first VIP. It will come and check, and it's not able to find out, then it will go for the second one, second VIP is available or not. So second VAP is available means then again it will go, it is not available, then it will go for the other VAPs. See, rack 1 hyphen VAP, the application will go and connect and find out whether it's able to connect. Okay, it's not, it's overloaded already. So many services are getting connected with this VAP means that particular service, that application will go and contact the rack 2 hyphen VAP or rack 3 hyphen VAP, rack 4 hyphen VAP. Like that, it will go and check each and every VAP whether it could connect with them or not. Fine. So this is what happening. But in case of scan IPs, due to the introduction of scan IPs from Oracle 11 GR2, what happened is, instead of the application going and checking each and every VAP, this scan VAP, the scan listener is there, no, scan IP. So it will direct the application. Okay. So the scan IP, it will direct the applications. Okay, see, this is not fit, or this is not ready now. So this IP, you can go and connect with this particular database. Like that, it will redirect. Your scan IP will be going on in the round robin process, and how many, even it doesn't care about how many number of nodes you have, or might be 10 nodes you have, or 20 nodes you might have in your cluster. It doesn't bother, just it will go in the round robin method. It will use all those 3 IPs in a round robin method only. Fine. So it will redirect these application directly to that corresponding instance. Okay, instead of the application going and checking whether I can connect through this VAP or that VAP or that instance I can connect. Like that, instead of this application going and checking, the connection process makes use of the scan IP, so that using the scan IP, it is redirecting the applications to corresponding instances. Fine. If this instance gets crashed, the scan will redirect. The application might have got connected first here and it was running. So this instance gets crashed means scan IP address will redirect this application to the other instance. Okay. Instead of the application going and checking every time to the other VAP or other VAP like that, the scan will redirect the applications to the corresponding instances. Fine. So that is the meaning for these network IPs. So that is, we have 4 IPs here. One is public IP, through which the applications are getting connected to the instances, and you have your private IP, that is between the instances they get connected, you call that as the private IP. And you have your VAP. VAP means just if the instance gets crashed, the application can fail over to the other instance. So for example, Oracle client or SSH client or VNCC, whatever the applications they are getting connected through this instance, through this VAP, it is getting connected, and this instance gets crashed means this VAP, this public IP won't work, isn't it? So through this VAP, it will fail over to the other instance. Okay. So, and using scan, instead of application going and checking whether this VAP is available, that VAP is available, what it will do, the scan IP will redirect the applications to the corresponding instances, which were the instances free. Okay, might be load is less in that particular node. So it will redirect those applications into those instances.
Yeah, ma'am. Okay.
Okay, so this is a So this is somewhat tough topic, that is your understanding the networking. So that's an important one. So this is how it works, right? So next one is we'll see the topics. See, cluster architecture. So this is what we saw now. Shared storage. So the database is a shared one, and nodes and interconnects. So nodes means just now we saw that is node 1, node 2, and interconnects means between them. Then OCR. What do you mean by this OCR? Means OCR is a like it is a file which is present. See, you can check like this. OCR check if you give, you'll be able to find out OCR, what is the version, how much space, how much is the used space, how much is the total space, and how much is the used space, how much is the available space and ID, and what is the device file name, that is plus data as the disk group. Fine. So this is how the OCR check we used to do. So what do you mean by OCR? Means it is a cluster registry which contains about the information about the node list. What are all the node lists available? Okay, see here it will contain the OCR in your shared storage. It will contain in any of the ASM disks. Your OCR will be there. So Oracle cluster registry means about the nodes list and node information will be present here in the OCR, as well as the instance to node, how the SGA is getting mapped with the database. Okay, there is the relationship between the OS as well as the instance. Okay, that is the SGA memory, memory background processes, as well as the interconnection between the OS level. So all this information is present under the OCR. It's present inside the OCR only. Okay, as well as what are all the what are all, like which node is at what state, like that also is present here in the OCR, Oracle cluster registry only it checks. So without the OCR we cannot start the cluster. Okay, without the OCR we cannot start the cluster, because OCR only contains the node information and what type of ASM we are using, and which database is being installed here. So about the whole cluster information is stored under this OCR file only. So without that is a centralized one. Okay, in any of the disks it will be there, and all the nodes can access that OCR. Fine. So that is OCR file. And voting disk. So what do you mean by voting disk? Means here you have your in your ASM only, in any of the ASM like OCR, voting disk also is present. So this voting disk contains the information about how to start the cluster. Okay, like all these nodes will come and tell the voting disk that we are present here. Like that, every 30 seconds each and every node should come and update themselves. Okay, if this node doesn't come and update on a particular time within 30 seconds, then voting disk will say that it will give as the disk timeout. Okay, so the voting disk is not being accessed properly, so this node will be evicted from the cluster. For example, some 5 nodes are here. Okay, one node is has not told the voting disk that I am alive. So every node should come and tell the voting disk that I am present here, I am alive, I am alive. Like that, every node will come and poll the voting disk every 30 seconds. Fine. If that doesn't occur, if that doesn't happen from a particular node, means that will be evicted from the cluster and it has to reboot. It will commit suicide and again it will reboot. Okay, it will shut down the system and from the cluster it will detach. Again it will reboot and then it will join the cluster. So for example, when and all we'll have this situation, such scenarios means when your space is not enough, when your RAM space is not enough, or due to some network inter-instance communication, that private internet interconnection is not there. So at that situations, when your space is not there, as well as in the network bandwidth is not enough, or your network inter-instance communication is not proper, at that time also this node eviction might happen. Okay, so that is the meaning for this voting disk. Okay, now so cluster architecture, shared storage means we know the ASM disks, and nodes and interconnects we know OCR, rack voting disk. So this is the purpose. Next one, what is Oracle grid infrastructure? So grid infrastructure is the software which implements rack concept. It contains two types of software. One is clusterware, the other one is ASM. So clusterware related clusterware software, what is the function? To start the cluster, to shut the cluster, as well as to check the cluster in between. Whether all the nodes have been started, have joined in the cluster, or all the nodes have, when we give stop command, all the nodes have stopped. Okay, as well as the connection, like a heartbeat mechanism. Just now we saw, no, disk timeout. So between the network, if there is any problem, no interconnect is not happening for the past 30 seconds or 200 seconds, or the disk is not being pulled, voting disk is not being pulled for 30 seconds, within 30 seconds. So at that time and all, this clusterware, the whole software will monitor all the services. Like what are all the services we saw? Just now we saw, no, all the services we saw, right? So those services, it will be checking whether scan listener is up, your database is up, your VIP. Rack 1 is assigned the proper VIP, Rack 2 is assigned the proper VIP. So like this, the whole clusterware checks all the resources are intact or not. Fine. So this is how, this is the clusterware. And ASM means, as we know, it is automatic storage management, and it is a volume manager. It acts as a volume manager as well, like which are all the volumes are free, and how the disks can be managed. So if one disk gets crashed, then how to balance with the other existing disks. So load balancing, all those things, ASM software will take care. For that, we need to install Oracle ASM library. See, RPM -QA grep Oracle ASM. If you give, it will show you Oracle ASM library should have been installed, because 7.0 is my Oracle Enterprise Linux. So I have installed this package, and Oracle ASM -support. So we are adding the disks, and using this Oracle ASM packages, we make that those disks as the ASM disks. Okay, so all the enhanced features, what are all the Oracle ASM features, we are making that the normal disks as ASM disks. Fine. So I have installed these two packages, so that to make it as an Oracle ASM. Fine. So next one, so that is what is grid infrastructure, the clusterware as well as ASM, both combined to form the Oracle grid infrastructure. So what is a cluster? So cluster means a group of nodes that interconnect with each other and act like a single node. Okay, to the end user, it acts like a single node. So the end user doesn't know that there are 3 nodes or 10 nodes available. So he doesn't know. Fine. So group of nodes act as a single node. We call that as a cluster. And what do you mean by this Flux cluster? From Oracle 12c onwards, this new feature is being introduced called Oracle Flux Cluster and Oracle Flux ASM. So Flux cluster means we have 2 terms we should know. Okay, when you're talking about Flux cluster, Flux cluster and Flux ASM. So what do you mean by this? So first one, Flux cluster means you have 2 types of nodes. So one is hub nodes. Okay, one is hub nodes. The other one is leaf nodes. So what do you mean by this? Hub nodes means like pre-12c nodes. Okay, hub nodes or pre-12c nodes. As usual only, normal standard nodes, we call them as hub nodes. Okay, for IO loads we are using these hub nodes, and these leaf nodes we call as application nodes also. So because like EBS or web server, so like this applications can be run on these application nodes. Each hub node which is directly connected with our storage. See, these are the hub nodes which are connected with the storage directly. Fine. So with this hub nodes we connect with the other leaf nodes. We'll see the here. See. This is how we have our shared storage. So shared storage is connected with normally our nodes. Okay, so you call these as hub nodes. Okay, then each hub node might be connected again with some other nodes. Okay, so that your load balancing will be more, because instead of connecting with only 4 nodes, each 4 nodes is getting connected with 3 nodes each, means another 12 nodes are here. Okay, so which shares the load. So like as I said, web services or like EBS, all such applications can run here. So instead of my hub node being overloaded, I am sharing the load along with this leaf nodes. Okay, so but these leaf nodes don't have like dumb terminals, you can imagine. Okay, so they don't have their own memory, or they don't have their own storage. So only the hub nodes will share with the storage, whereas these leaf nodes are connected with this hub nodes. Fine. So these leaf nodes don't have their own storage. That's why we call these as applications or nodes or terminal nodes or leaf nodes. Fine. So these application nodes will be sharing the load of this hub node. Instead of this load, this is very much overloaded, we are offloading it with other applications being run. Now what happens, instead of me connecting with these shared storage, connecting with only 4 nodes, I am connecting with 4 plus 12, 16 nodes I am able to connect now. Okay, so now your performance is also improved, right? So even if this hub node gets failed, these leaf nodes can fail over to the other hub node. Fine. So all your terminal applications which are of very much intensive workloads, those can be used inside your leaf nodes. But still, they don't have the shared storage access directly. They are all loosely coupled, whereas these are tightly coupled with the storage. Fine. So this is the meaning for your flex cluster. This is what is called as flex cluster now. Now we have improved the efficiency as well as performance. Then load balancing also we are doing, as well as we are doing the scalability as well, and failover also. Even if this gets failed also, these leaf nodes will come to the other nodes for failover. So this is what is called as flex cluster. Can you follow, Kamesh? Any doubts you have in this?
Yeah, ma'am. I'm good.
Okay, fine. So clusterware characteristics. So that is what I said, no, like in the Oracle level as well as in the root user level, we are doing it. Okay, in the Oracle level as well as in the root user level, we have some resources to be controlled. So now we'll start and we'll see the sequences, how the rack is started. Okay, so here in this document I'll share you so that you'll get all the details about this. So what do you mean by this OCR? We just saw that it is a central repository storing cluster related information. There is how many nodes are there, how many what are all the nodes, and the instance to node relation, how they are mapping. So what are all the profiles, all those things. Okay, it is stored in the shared storage we saw. Next one is OLR, that is Oracle local registry. So what do you mean by this? Means each node will contain their own OLR. This node will contain its own OLR. This node will contain its own OLR. Okay, so this node, each and every node will contain its own OLR. You call that as the Oracle local registry. Fine. So what happens here is, whenever your ASM is getting started, that is your cluster has to be started. CRS-CTL start cluster if you are giving, then what happens inside means these are the things happens. Okay, so this looks somewhat cumbersome only. Okay, so now what happens is this init is the one. Okay, so normally in Linux systems we have the /etc/init.d. So this is the startup file in Linux. Okay, Linux workstations /etc/initd is the startup file for starting the cluster. So this init will start the OHAST. Okay, so OHAST means what? Oracle High Availability Services Domain. Okay, Oracle High Availability Services domain. Okay, so this is a process. Okay, OHAST plus OLR. This is the first step. Okay, so as soon as this init is started, this will start the OHAST, and this OLR, each and every node contains its own local registry we saw, isn't it? So what happens is, first one, this OLR contains all the necessary information for the OHAST to start. Okay, I'll repeat. See, Oracle local registry contains all the necessary information for the OHAST to start. Okay, so this is the first step. So the OHAST is started now. Next one, what will happen? Second one is OHAST is starting up two processes. One is GPNPD and CSST. Okay, so what do you mean by this? Means GPNPD means plug and play, grid plug and play. Okay, grid plug and play daemon. Okay, services daemon. And CSST means cluster synchronization services domain. Okay, synchronization services domain. So this is CSST. So this OHAST is starting the GPNPD and CSST. So this GPNPD contains the information, okay, about the ASM. So what and all this GPNPD is containing the information means it contains ASM discovery string. Okay, that is where the disks are located, disk location, ASM disk location. That is what is ASM discovery string. Okay, next one is ASM SP file. Okay, ASM SP file location also is present in grid plug and play daemons place only. Then third one is also it contains the information of voting file. Okay, voting file location information is also present here. Fine. So grid plug and play daemon service contains what and all? It contains ASM discovery string. Okay, that is first, it contains ASM discovery string, B ASM SP file location, then third one voting file location information. So all these three are present inside the grid plug and play daemon service. So now this CSST reads the grid plug and play daemon service. Okay, then only it comes to know that where is the voting desk located. Fine. So reads this one and finds out voting file location. Okay, voting disk or voting file location. So third one, the CSSSD starts the cluster. Okay, it only starts the cluster using voting file. Using voting file, CSSD is starting the cluster. Fine. Then fourth one, OHASD starts the ASM instance. Okay, starts the ASM instance. Means what? It mounts the ASM disk groups. Okay, it mounts the ASM disk groups and find out the ASM SP file where it is and starts the ASM instance. Fine. So now next step is our OCR is available inside the ASM only. OCR is available from the disk group only. Okay, from the ASM disk groups. So any of the disk groups might be, we might have some 5 disk groups. In any one of the ASM disk group, your OCR will be available. Okay, so OCR is available from any of the ASM disk groups. Now, finding out the OCR, CRS daemon. Okay, CRS daemon means what? Cluster resource services daemon. Okay, so this CRSD only starts finding out OCR. From when the OCR is available, CRSD starts. Fine. So based on the OCR information, CRSD is started. Now the whole cluster starts. The cluster starts the other services. Starts the other services. Okay. Starts and controls the other services. Starts and controls the other services. Fine. So this is the 7-step rack startup sequence. So this is called as 7-step cluster startup sequence. Fine. So
the
first one is
last step,
last step controls the other services, means like ASM instance service is there, listener service is there, database instance service is there, scan listener service is there. So all the other services which starts with ORA. See, I'll show you. See, the other services is there. No, see, database instance service is there. Then scan services is there. So these are the services which it will control. ASM, CVU, management DB. So these services, in the 7th step, it will start the cluster and control all these. Oracle notification services. So means there is a message between the nodes. Using that, it will pass the message between the nodes. Fine. Can you follow?
Yes, ma'am.
So there is init is the service which will start. So normally whenever we have shut down the system and when we want to start the cluster, as a super user, that is as a root user, we have to give Oracle ASM init1 command. Okay, Oracle ASM init. So this is the one which is using that, it will be under /etc/init.d. So from here we used to give Oracle ASM init. So like this we used to give. Okay, in previous versions and all, see, it is deprecated. So in case of 11G and all, we used to give like this /etc/init.d/Oracle ASM init. So this is the command, that init statement, which will start the OHASD service. So, but in case of now, from 12C onwards, it's deprecated. Simply we'll give Oracle ASM init. That's it. So that is what we were talking about now. That is the init. Init only starts this OHASD services. Okay. So now in the first step, OHASD is starting by reading the contents of OLR. In the second step, CSSSD is starting by reading the contents of GPNPD. In the third step, using voting file, CSSD is starting the cluster. And in the fourth step, it mounts the ASM disk groups and starts the ASM instance. And in the fifth step, from the ASM disk group, OCR is available now. So using that OCR information, CRS daemon, that is cluster resource service daemon, starts. CRSD is the very important one. So this only we used to go and check under CRSD only, the logs and all. If any problem is there, we used to go under CRSD logs and check. So this one only will provide. There is it will. This is the main daemon service along with the CSSD. So CSSD normally it will start, and CRSD is the one which controls the whole cluster. Okay, starting the cluster, shut down the cluster, or checking the cluster, the health of the cluster. So all these things is this is the critical one. So which we should be knowing. So CRSD. Next, in the seventh step, the cluster getting started and controls the other services. Just now we saw, no, like a scan listener or database instance or listeners, normal listeners. That is which establish the connection between the server and the client side. So such type of services.
This init should be executed using root, right, ma'am?
Yeah, Oracle ASM init as a root user only we are doing.
So before that, we should start both the nodes.
Yeah, when we start the node, it won't. It will say Oracle that cannot communicate with CRS, because we have to start this. We have to give this Oracle ASM init. We have to give, then only it will start all those 7 steps. It will do. Okay. So tomorrow's class we'll see the next steps.